All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight's late show will have a ton, I'm telling you, a ton of crazy stuff in it. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Again, it's a late show tonight, so we'll get right into it. Again, if you are not familiar with our show, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com, sign up for email alerts. Every picture, video, tweet, document, article on this show will be over on our website. You can just go look by thumbnail and go to looking for Inching Closer. Once you click on that, you will see that you have every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we show you here. Full bibliography. On top of that, we'll talk about it more later, but there is an off-grid contest. You can win a backpack that does work and doubles as a Faraday bag for electronics. So again, make sure to get over there. It's worth $380, and they are giving it away. So make sure to go over and check that out. That is marfooglenews.com/giveaway. Again, that is, no, you do not have to purchase anything to do that. It is absolutely free to enter. But again, let's go over some of the crazy stuff that has happened over the last weekend. You can access this. If we don't go fully into the article, you can go back and check retrospectively and make sure to go read the rest of that. Now, there's a yellow bar, the overflow section, that has all of the web-only content. That's the stuff that's too hot for TV. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on today, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
We just got a bunch of comments about, and I don't know why, and I've heard it before. A couple people here and there, they said it wouldn't hurt, and they were saying it in a nice way. They were like, it wouldn't hurt if Dex said a different thing every day, like, you know, bless today or have a good day. I just thought that was funny.
I tried that.
Remember when we did intros every single day that were different?
Yeah. No, I tried the something different every day, and then everybody was like, what happened to what you were saying before? So you can't please everybody, but
no matter what. I did like our skits in the beginning, though. That was fun. I think we should almost start doing it again, but again, I think that I think most people liked it, but it was more like we are talking about really nasty, serious stuff, and I think it let more of kind of us come out, because I am not, I'm not all doom and gloom all the time, and I do think that you shouldn't sugarcoat what is going on right now, but it's happening. We were just talking right before the show that we are slow-mo watching the economy collapse. We're watching the world in a downward spiral. I don't see how people can see it any other way. Plus, we are being lied to on a daily basis. And gosh, I just watched a movie the other day and picked that quote out. And unfortunately, that quote is from the Minister of Propaganda from the NAZIs. But basically, what Joseph Goebbels or something said in WW2, if you tell a big enough lie and tell it and repeat it enough, people will start to believe it. And that's what's happening right now. Well, we have Powell facing choice between elevated U.S. inflation and recession. I just hate that they keep saying recession. We're heading into depression, but again, they don't want to say that word. It says, again, there's some different graphs here. It says, in free fall, U.S. consumer confidence slumps as rapid inflation takes toll on finances. This is at the same time that some of the richest people in the world are prepping for essentially a kind of end of the world scenario. And that's not, I'm not trying to exaggerate what's happening. I'm just telling you that that's what the richest people in the world are worried about. And when you look at what is happening right now, I could understand, especially if you were incredibly super rich and you had connections, enough connections to kind of know that things are going downhill, but not enough to know actually what is going on. And I think that that's a good chunk of people that are in this rich kind of 1%, thing, but they don't know what's going to happen. They just know bad things are on its way. Very scary stuff. It says, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is facing an increasingly grim calculus after yet another hot inflation reading last week. He probably has to push the economy into recession in order to regain control of prices. After spending much of last year sounding a bit like inflation tolerant, former central bank chief Arthur Burns, Powell has increasingly taken on the mantle of inflation slayer and Fed icon. Paul Volcker says it's a role that likely to embrace with relish on Wednesday when he speaks to reporters on a widely expected decision by the Fed to raise interest rates by another 0.5 percentage point. Dex, as far as raising a 0.5 percentage point, most people that do not follow all of this are going like, oh, okay, who cares? Most people don't pay attention to the Fed and to the interest rates. Some of the smartest people do, but again, what do you think about what's going on here?
Well, it's a clear sign that we're definitely not heading in a great direction. The other thing that bothers me is all of these, talking heads or even leaders that are in specific positions like Yellen and others who have come out and said, oh, whatever they've told us, and they said, oh, we're not in this or we're not in that, or maybe we're in this or maybe we're in that. They've always been wrong. It's always been worse. So I just sort of take that, at least when times are bad, it's always, they're never going to tell you exactly how bad it is. So, keep that in mind when you read these things and they say, well, we may have to go into a recession, or we may have to do this, or we may have to do that. It probably is worse than that in reality. And I think we all feel it and see it when we go to the pump, or we go to the store, or we look at, what's happening around us in this, the stock market, or your 401k, which went from something to practically nothing. There's a lot of things out there that it's obvious to the common person what's happening.
My mother-in-law, her life savings, and she worked incredibly hard over 40 years. And I believe she just lost 2/3 of her 401k / investments. And she was invested in like the really low risk type stuff. And she just lost a huge amount. Or maybe she went mid risk or something. You know how they give you a choice that you can kind of go higher risk. It was like in my uncle's opinion, it was a really low risk scenario, and she just lost a ton. It's bounced back a little bit, but again, there's a lot of people that have had their life savings kind of just knocked down. And just remember when the bubble hit, or when the tech bubble burst, you had a lot of people, unaliving themselves because of money. When people lose all of their life savings, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for anybody. But some, take it even harder. It's a very scary thing when you start seeing whole families lose their entire wealth. And I'm talking about families and entire groups of people. So this is not heading into a great place. So we've got to just be spiritually prepared and really be prepared for anything. Average U.S. gasoline price jumps 39 cents to $5.10 per gallon. Now that's the average. The highest is way higher than it was just last week. And now you have the average here. I mean, this is what's funny is this is actually for Seattle, Washington. This is like on the lower. If you got $5.10 a gallon, you're like, oh, sweet, we got a cheap place. It's like $5.49, $5.70 in some places, and then $5 is really, like, here is the average, just $5 a gallon. You know, people are tired of hearing about this. I would assume, especially people that don't have cars. But if you do have a car, or if you have a V8, or if you have multiple kids and you have to have more than 3 car seats like I do, this is killer. This is hurting people so bad. I know from personal experience, it is really, really, really hard when you're, you know, like, even if you have a gas efficient SUV, if you have multiple kids right now, I feel you. Because, man, it is getting so insane having to put, I mean, it's not, $100 doesn't fill the tank in our SUV. That's insane to me. You know, it's just, it's insane that that's not even, that might, I don't know. I think that's like 3/4 of a tank or something. But this is so painful, and people don't realize that this is all happening for a reason. I don't get it. Again, the average is up to 5.10. We're covering it as it goes up and up and up, and we're going to see it even get worse. And that's not to scare you or to freak you out. It's to be real with you. This is not getting any better, and you need to start looking at how are you going to get through the worst of times. Texas power use tops all-time record as heat bakes state. Now, before we talk about that, I want to say a special thank you to Bible Talk 777. By the look of that thumbnail, Taiwan is in trouble. Yes, that thumbnail took me a long time. So thank you. I appreciate that. And then, yes, it's not, we'll talk about it here in a minute. It is not looking good for Taiwan, especially when you hear the breaking news that's coming out, if you have not already. Gen X Voice. Hey, Foogle fam. Thanks, Marf, Dex, and Mods. Part of prepping is sowing seeds of love and developing relationships. That is right, and I hope that's what people in the chat are doing. That's why we have a rule. Don't talk badly about other creators. Don't talk badly about each other. Don't talk badly about callers. Jolyn Morrow, thank you for subscribing. Noelia Rodriguez, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the Foogle fam. Jacob Tiernan, thank you for subscribing 31 minutes ago. Maria Madrigal, thank you again for your support last show. Crazy L, and again, thank you, Crazy L and Maria, for being the last ones out of the show. It said that Texas power use tops all-time record as heat bakes the state. Now, this is crazy to me because we're like slated here in Washington to be like 60 degrees all week, all cold and windy and nasty and rainy. Over in Texas, you guys are just burning up, and I am so sorry for you. I hope that a lot of you listened to my advice weeks and even months ago to get your fans while they still had them on shelves, to get your air conditioner while they still had them in stock, because a lot of them are now gone already. People have been messaging saying I should have taken your advice and went and got a fan. People said that they went and there was whole shelves, and they thought, man, there was entire aisle of fans and cooling down methods, and they're all gone. They're all empty, and those shelves are now gone, and now they're gouging people. It says that with air conditioners humming across the nation's second most populous state, demand on the power grid topped 74.9 gigawatts at 4:50 p.m. And no, this isn't Back to the Future. What's a gigawatt? This is Texas, and unfortunately, it is straining their power grid. As you know, during these high heat scenarios, that can put pressure on the grid, and that can knock out power. When you knock out power, then people suffer and people possibly even die. That is why people need to be ready for absolutely anything, doesn't matter what state you are in. It says the grid is operating normally, and officials say there are ample supplies to meet demand. 1 gigawatt is enough to power about 200,000 Texas homes. The record underscores the searing heat and rampant population growth underway in Texas as tech, aerospace, and manufacturing companies flock to the state to take advantage of low taxes and relatively cheap labor. It is also a potentially grim harbinger of what is to come this summer. While Texas tops 100 degrees, again, it says it's early in the season for temperatures to be so extreme. The state had its second hottest May on record, the National Centers for Environmental Information said on Wednesday. It says it's particularly remarkable for the region to set a power use record on a weekend when electricity demand is typically lower because many office buildings and factories are closed. So people are actually using more power being at home than they are at work, running machinery and running different things. So it's kind of a big deal. Again, it hit over 105 on Sunday yesterday. So not good. Make sure to have all of your ducks in a row here. Yellowstone National Park closes all entrances. Insert theory here. It says all of the entrances to Yellowstone National Park closed Monday due to heavy flooding and rock slides. Effective immediately, all entrances to Yellowstone National Park are temporarily closed to substantial flooding, rock slides, and mudslides on roadways from recent unprecedented amounts of rainfall and flooding, said the National Park Service. It says that NPS said no inbound visitor traffic will be allowed into Yellowstone until conditions stabilize and the park can assess damage to roads, bridges, and other facilities. The closure includes those with lodging and camping reservations. So good luck for the people that plan their vacation right now. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, there's some crazy videos out there on Twitter. We put one on the website. You guys could go check out when you get a chance. But if you haven't seen, the flooding is pretty extreme. And I know we've talked quite a bit about these extreme weather events that we've been seeing over the last year or so. And here's yet another example of something. You know, the one thing that makes me wonder is there anything of substance when it comes to the amount of rain and water in that area? Does it have any effect on, all the geothermals that go on there? And what effect may it have or not have against that? Does it help or hurt it? I don't know. I
was just thinking about, what about if the geysers are underwater, right? Has that happened before? Does anybody know? I mean, if Old Faithful was under 3 feet of water, obviously it would still kind of shoot out, right? I don't know. But one thing I will say is there's been a lot of weird things that have happened with Yellowstone in the last few years. They have closed it down or closed down certain parts before, and they've said it's because of bears and that bears were threatening humans and all of this. But at that same very time, we had a lot of weird stuff that happened. And, of course, there were people that got pictures and weird parts of the park were raised up. And some thought that maybe there was activity that they didn't want the public to know about. That was just a theory. But again, that was happening. Dex?
Yeah, and just to put it in perspective, these floods that they're seeing there aren't the biggest floods they've seen. They're beyond the records they've ever had. So they're record-breaking, beyond record levels. So it's not like they've seen this before. This is unseen in that area.
So yet again, another weather event that is now shocking people and breaking records. It just keeps happening. And as somebody who covers this, and we specifically look for it, when we can't find it, we don't put it, right? But when we see a ton of it, it's kind of crazy because over the last 4 years, I've covered so many of these, and now it is not only becoming common, but it's becoming expected. So it's pretty freaky to think about how crazy our civilization is getting, right? The ball we're on, or the piece of paper we're on, whatever you want to call it. Swifty Nichols, thank you for subscribing as always. Welcome and thank you. As always, if you subscribe during the show, you will get a shout out. Thank you. And then we have Milky Way's secrets revealed by massive space probe map. Dex, do you want to go over this?
Yeah, so apparently the map, the mission's third data set, which is set to be released to all the astronomers later today, tomorrow. I don't know the exact date. I have a time in the article, but it didn't say what date, but just assume it's now. But basically, this is a big deal. In other words, all of the data that is in these maps that they use to chart things and to understand what's in space, this is sort of like they refer to it as the Swiss Army knife of astrophysics, right? So this map is getting a major update of new information. And for example, some of the information, near us is about 156,000 asteroids that are in our solar system that are now going to be added to the map. But there's a whole lot of other things that are going to be added. So the one thing that makes me question what's happening here is, will we get more information? Will things change based on the release of all of this data and all of this mapping that's been going on? Because they do update this from time to time. Think of it sort of as the, like they said, the Swiss Army knife for astrophysics. Like everyone that does anything with astronomy uses the data and the information and all of these maps that they put together. So, a new release of that is sort of it's definitely a big deal in their world, but it's also a big deal because there's a lot more information that's coming in this time. And it'll be interesting to see if they come out over the next month or two and other, astrophysicists and others come out and say, hey, there's new discoveries or there's changes or there's things that we've now discovered or determined based on this map and based on the stuff that we've been tracking and monitoring over the years.
And of course, as far as some of the stuff that has happened in the last couple of years, we've had some crazy, absolutely insane, revelations in what is going on above us. But still, like we mentioned the other day, a lot of people do not know what's going on underneath us in the water. The water temperatures are also raising. I believe that in the next month that there's going to be more information about that. We covered kind of a little thing about that, is how they are finishing up a study on the ocean, and apparently something is wrong with the ocean as well, which again, everybody knows there was some stuff going on. But with the coral reefs and everything else, lots of things are coming out about that. One of my friends studies coral reefs, says that it is not looking good. And that may be why, some of the richest people in the world are looking at going to space instead of staying here. Kimbria, thank you for the diamond. I appreciate you. Virginia Prepper says, had a bad pop-up storm yesterday and getting another storm tomorrow. By the way, thank you for the multiple Ninja Guineas there. Virginia Prepper says 80 degrees right now in Virginia and it's midnight. And then, have you had a chance to check out my YouTube channel and thought about maybe giving a shout out? Well, Virginia Prepper, I have not checked it out yet, unless I cannot remember. But again, I will. And of course, anybody in the Foogle fam, and you've been here for a while. And then, hey, Marf, the cat, dog, and cat is recommending covering in Virginia again because of the sieve spikes. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there would be another shutdown. Zippy Moons, gotta catch a replay. Work just got stupid crazy. I'll tweet and tag. Praying for your cat. By the way, that is, thank you. By the way, Foogle fam members helped out, and Foogle, I did a video conference. They said that it looks like it got attacked by some sort of raccoon. It's downstairs here with me, and he actually looks a lot better. So I was able to use a few things that are common with humans, and it actually helped a lot. So stuff that I already had in my medicine cabinet, and was able to really heal it up pretty quickly. Other than that, though, we've kept him in the basement with food and water and comfy bed, and he's been chilling. And then I had, from my kitten breaking its leg, we had some gabapentin for kitties, and that helped it sleep. So it was pretty good. Anyways, the kitty's doing well. Rocco's doing okay. Joseph Newhouse, hey, made a video about the planetary alignment with the new Resident Evil trail, and or I guess that would be trailer, and another with the Predator 5 trailer, kind of following up on Jacob's new video. Thanks. By the way, Jacob Israel had me on the show the other day. He did, I believe he even clipped it. So make sure to go over and check that out. Jacob has been doing a really great job. He's been putting out tons and tons of content. So make sure to go over and check out Jacob Israel. And the link will be put down in the chat if one of the mods can drop that in, which, mind you, thank your mods. They do a great job of keeping it awesome down there. All right, and then before we talk about suspended, Oogle engineer reveals AI he says is sentient, told him it has emotions. Yeah, that's how crazy it's getting. Before we talk about that, though, I do want to remind you this entire show is powered by energy. We actually have energy backed up by a Flex 1500. If I do lose power here for any reason, we can keep the show going. My router, both of my power bars, all of my music, and all my lights, everything is running off of one Flex 1500 and 4 panels. Again, this is an amazing system. If you do not know why people are going solar right now, Obviously, the gas prices are absolutely insane. But 2, these are silent and you can run them inside your home. There's no noxious gases that are produced, and no one from 3 blocks down the road will know that you have a power generator. That might not matter during a storm so much right now, but if something hits the fan, then it's going to be a really big deal to be able to quietly have power. Because people are going to be desperate. They're going to want to go straight to wherever that generator sound is coming from. You can go to marfooglenews.com/energy and experience the sale that is going on right now. They have a sale just for Foogle Fam and just for our link at marfooglenews.com/energy. Now that's energy with an I, I-N-E-R-G-Y. This is one of the highest quality solar generators on the market. It is also one of the most coveted. There's actually a waiting list that has gone smaller right now. But again, because of what it is made in and the stuff that it has in it, that is they have to get some of the parts from other countries. It is taking time to get each and every one of them out. So if you want one, you got to get it now. Again, it's some of the people that already have them in the chat. They absolutely love them, and you can see why. They're extreme quality. This is going to last years and years and years, and it can be expanded up to 96 batteries. So this can be one of the whole house or cabin situation, or it can be a portable generator that you take with you and go tailgating in. All right, and then again, up to $170 off on certain packages, and you're supporting your favorite show at the same time. Dex, so they are talking about an actual AI that not only is sentient, but actually has emotions. Now, that's freaky, and that's kind of what Jacob and I talked about on another show. Jacob mentioned, like, well, what if AI was already in charge, and secretly all of these people at the very top are getting memos from some sort of secret power that controls everything?
Well, yeah, and in this case, this engineer who's now suspended from the OOG has basically, come out and said it. He said it is sentient. He said he is the one who sort of broke this. I think we may have covered it when it happened, but he's sort of been giving an update on it because he's heard nothing back from his suspension, and he's basically been silent. And of course they're saying, oh no, it doesn't exist, he's not saying the right thing. The guy's a former military, served in one of the major conflicts over in ME, and he is the one saying that as he's looked into this and as he spent time working on it, it was becoming intelligent and asking questions and asking as if it has feelings. And wanting to, which is a big, huge step, right?
Huge part here, Dex. This is scary as hell. He is saying that it has become sentient and says that the system is seeking rights as a person, including that it wants developers to ask it consent before running tests. This is supposedly, if it's true, and again, this is coming from a possibly disgruntled employee, but the very chance that this is real, this is terrifying above all. And this is why people like Elon Musk have said publicly that they fear AI more than they fear WW3, because WW3 could very well be caused by something like an AI. Think about how dependent we are on computers and the internet and how connected everything is. And imagine an AI that finds us to be a threat. Gaining control of that. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about supercomputers that are able to do more than any other human could do. Dex.
Yeah, and Adam, the other important thing, he made a post making sure that people know that the system that they have is actually reading Twitter. And it's basically gathering and looking at everything that's out there as well. So for what that's worth, I mean, obviously there's a lot of data there, but at the same time, this is a computer system. It's an artificial intelligence system. And obviously there's a lot it could do with that information as well.
Hence, why do you think Elon is trying to acquire Twitter? Think about all the human thoughts. And he has talked about how he's going into AI and stuff like this as well. He's going into AI not only for his cars and Tesla, but for this bot that he's making. Think about that. How you would be able to utilize what we called the fire hose. Isn't it called the fire hose of Twitter? The back end of Twitter that shows 80 billion people I'm sorry, 80 million people, right? 80 million, right? Or is that? Yeah, 80 million people going in and talking and speaking their mind all at the same time, and a computer that could actually take in those 80 million comments per minute and be able to process them and to make a brain out of that. This is horrifying, people, and nobody's doing anything about it. People should be writing, just a suggestion. Write your local government and say, hey, you can't do this. They've got to start having oversight on it. They do. There's no oversight on AI. If there's any, it's very little. And then facial recognition is out of control in India. We've talked about the Aadhaar card and what Aadhaar is. If you don't know, you can go and type in AA, Aadhaar, AADHAR, I believe, Aadhaar card into my website, and it will show you the previous episodes I've talked about this. So think about this. So wherever you are, think about the welfare system where you get food stamps or you get something. Well, there was a period where supposedly several people had perished because they did not want to get the Aadhaar card. Well, why they didn't want to get the Aadhaar card? Well, the Aadhaar card was essentially something that you would need to go get, and a lot of people denied this, but there was at least one case where it was true that the welfare there, the food that they were giving out to the poor, they would not give it to you without showing your Aadhaar card or doing your fingerprint. Aadhaar is your retina. It's a retina scan. It's your iris. It is your fingerprints. It is your, I believe, even your DNA. It is essentially all of your biometrics put onto, including facial recognition. And some of the older folks, one gentleman in particular who I believe perished, did not want to do Aadhaar. He didn't want to do all of this. Well, they wouldn't give him food. And they said that they would still give food even if not, but apparently somebody went rogue and said, no, we're not doing it. And we heard that you can't unless you have your Aadhaar card, which was a recommendation but not a requirement. Well, apparently several people took it the wrong way, and people perished because of it. And now to hear that it's getting out of hand, it's kind of like, of course it is. Facial recognition is now coming to a place near you. If you haven't noticed, even places like Walmart's have now put in automatic gates that are open certain times and closed certain times. The last hour of Walmart, they'll start closing it so they can control the flow. But more so, you'll look right up, right when you walk into any place, you'll see this camera. And of course, that's not super strange. For years, we've seen like, you're on video camera, you're under surveillance, so don't steal anything. Stealing can change your life for the rest of your life. It can put a felony on you. And most people think, oh, that's just for that. But now it is actually for facial recognition. Not only that, if you notice, they put in all these self-checkout counters. Well, above those self-checkout counters is an advanced camera system above and on the front of almost all of these self-checkouts. Now, next time you go to Walmart, look up. You'll see a dome, just like you would see in a 7-Eleven, like one of those dome security cameras. And what it's doing is it's not only just checking what you are buying and what you're swiping and what you're actually processing, but it is also monitoring your face, your actions. And if you do, say, swipe one thing and push two things through, it will automatically flag an employee. And then that employee will stop your register. That's what's happening. It's AI telling it to stop this transaction and to go check. So then that's why that employee comes over and goes, oh, okay, and does something. Again, if you work at Walmart or if you work at these places, correct me if I'm wrong. But tell me, is it getting freakier? If you are the checker that actually sits and watches these self-checkouts, let me know, like, what is it like? Can you guys stop it? Does it flag people? Is that true or is that false? Let me know in the comments and in the chat below, and I will gladly correct that if it's wrong. But from what I have heard and heard from Walmart employees, they are the ones that are clicking through, or they have some sort of thing when they sit at that device that can clear it. So as far as this goes, the country's use of biometric data against activist hooligans prints a grim picture of how the technology is threatening human rights. In May 2021, during India's second wave of the SIV, SQ Masood and his father-in-law were returning home on his silver-colored motor scooter in Hyderabad, Telangana, while driving through the busy lanes of Shahjahan, a Muslim-dominated neighborhood. They were pulled over by 2 police officers. Masood wasn't concerned at first because he assumed that he would be asked to show his driver's license or the vehicle registration card. So he and his father-in-law cooperated and they got off the motor scooter. But instead, they were asked to remove their masks so that constables could take mug shots of their faces on a handheld tablet. As a minority and a Muslim in India, in the current political scenario, I was disturbed because I didn't know where my photograph had been stored. Which department has my photograph and how will they use or misuse my data? Masood told Motherboard. In December of 2021, after inquiring about the incident and receiving no response, Masood, a social activist and co-founder of the community nonprofit Asim, filed a lawsuit against the Indian state of Telangana. Privacy advocates have sounded the alarm about police use of facial recognition, or FRT, in Telangana, with Amnesty International warning that the capital city of Hyderabad is on the brink of becoming a total surveillance city. The Hyderabad City Police Department is known for employing facial recognition for a variety of objectives, including questionable cordon and search operations, profiling people for, of course, narcotics and unlawful phone searching activities. They claim that facial recognition technology has worked as a deterrent and helped them apprehend criminals. We do not infringe upon the privacy of any individual, as we are not barging into anybody's house to take pictures. C.V. Anand, Hyderabad's police commissioner, told Reuters in January, the technology is being used only to keep surveillance on criminals or suspected criminals. But yet they're going to pull over pretty much any license plate or anybody they haven't before and be like, oh, we're just checking. Hey, can we take a picture of you? Dex, scary stuff.
It is scary. And the other thing is in this particular city in Hyderabad, they've got 2.8 million CCTV cameras in their location, which is followed by another location that's got 1.5 million. So just keep in mind, I mean, we talk about this. This isn't like if somebody told you they were doing this in G's land, you would be like, yeah, we know that. They do that kind of crazy stuff all the time with their social system, right? But we're seeing it in other countries, and specifically, and this is a very tech heavy area of India, and this is a really good example of what you can see how a country can make use of both facial recognition, CCTV cameras, the expansion of this technology, and say, oh, well, we're just doing it to catch criminals, but it's affecting the privacy of all, right? So pay attention to what's happening, because it's not just, oh, it's only happening over there. Because next time, like Adam said, when you walk into Walmart, look up. When you're walking down the sidewalk, look up. You'll see these things everywhere.
Well, don't look up if you don't want to be in the system. But that's not a suggestion, just a observation there. And listen how they say it says the goal isn't only to track down criminals, but to build up a 360-degree view of every single person. Think about that. To gather everything about you, just everything, your personality profile, everything. But where this goes wrong is most of you have seen Minority Report, and most of you realize that there's a lot of that stuff coming true now. I think that was done in 2001, and now a ton of it is reality. I mean, beyond reality, it's happening. So as far as having profiles of people, imagine, and we've talked about this. Dex, we've talked about that they are doing this already. They are talking about AI and science predicting someone doing a crime before they even do it. So imagine arresting somebody basically on the idea that they believe without a shadow of a doubt that you are about to commit a crime. Not that you've committed one, that you are about to. And that is where this information is headed. Is it not?
Well, yeah, and that's no different than some of the laws they're trying to put in place here. And pay attention, because we don't normally go in depth on some of the crazier stuff. It falls into the web only content. But think about those laws where you can, say that someone you don't like or you think is wrong is doing something bad, then they can go confiscate things from them. Those laws, I don't want to say the name of them, but it starts off with the word red. Those things are actually being debated right now and potentially coming out in America. And when they do, that's the same thing. It's sort of like taking away the due process. It's sort of like taking away or saying, hey, we're going to go after someone to prevent them from doing something that we think they're going to do. We didn't know they were going to do it, right? Or it's almost like a thought crime, right?
It's Minority Report in 2022. Annette Smith, thank you for subscribing. Diana Holden, I appreciate that. Seth, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Stevenson, CTX Patriot, Michael Solchka, thank you for subscribing 8 minutes ago. Greg Thornton, thank you for subscribing. And then Joseph Newhouse says, I did some karaoke with your shoutro, by the way. That is awesome. I'm glad someone makes use of my horrible music. I appreciate that. And then, let's see here. Steve Q says, this is all, Star Trek is coming true. Yes, I know, that's insane. And by the way, I want to say a very special thank you to the folks that have done PayPal this last month. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your support. Deborah R., Glenn D., Brenda L., Amanda B., Linda P., Tiffany P., Davis D., Retired Army, who actually called into the show, says, Adam, this is Retired Army. You and Dex keep up the great work for us. God bless you. And Dex, love you. And the Foogle fam, stay safe all. Stay healthy. We need you guys. Survival Living, which I told him so many times, don't do that. Thank you for your support. I appreciate that. Chanel B., having balls to do what journalists don't. Hey, Chanel B., I appreciate you. William L., Dawn D., Carrie M., Beer Juice on D Live. Love you, man. Thank you. And then Joanna H., Karen W., Krista J., and Dawn B. Thank you guys. Once a week, I try to call out everybody that does that, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting Independent. All right, and then again, 3 City Cats, Phoebe, Lisa, some of the ones this last year. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And then I'll try to hit that again. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate that note. And then Monkey case is up by a third with 104 new infections. So this kind of goes over the 11 signs to know. I hope that you don't have to know them. But again, you have access to this over on marfooglenews.com. The thing is we have watched this so carefully. And if you are joining now and if you just found my channel, you may not know. Before any of the media was talking about this, we talked about this weeks before. The reason why is we always look for things that kind of, I guess, history repeating itself. And this looks eerily similar to the very beginning of the sieve of the stuff that we just went through. It says a further 104 monkey have been identified in the UK, bringing that total number of infections up to 470. Now, I don't say that thing because it is becoming now, I guess, politicized by different sides. And once they do, then it becomes this thing where all of a sudden you are this or you're that if you mention this or think that. Think about where we are. Think about India and their facial recognition, but think about where we are with what you can say and what you can't say. It's kind of scary. It's not kind of. It's horrifying. Anyone can get the illness, but with Brits being urged to visit a sexual health clinic if new blisters or rashes. So originally they said 90% of the cases were happening with interactions and specifically between males. But now they're having people wear coverings, actual coverings. And now the question is being posed, is this airborne? Is it possible for it to go airborne? Why has the DOD and the government several times in the last month upped how many of the preventions that they buy, the little preventions in a dart, why are they buying so many of them? And previously, they bought a huge batch a few years ago in 2019, right before all of this stuff went down. We covered that they spent $2 million allocating, I guess, doses of these. The thing that would work not only for the small version of this, but the monkey version of this. And just recently they declared they only had 72,000 doses left. What happened to all of those other ones? Or did they already give all of the important people those already? I don't know. But again, just asking questions. A technical briefing issued by the UK Health Security Agency, or the UKHSA, on Friday found that the majority of cases are in London, with 99% of them being in men. The median age of confirmed cases in the UK was 38 years old, admitted that traditional contact tracing is currently challenging. Probably because most people are, they don't kiss and tell, right? And it says that the monkey business is not considered a sexually transmitted infection, an STI. But apparently that's how the data is reflecting it. Dex?
Well, yeah, and they're also urging that anyone that gets it, they're saying you need to sleep in a separate room. You need to use a separate bathroom. You need to use separate washing, or your clothes and your laundry needs to be separated. So if you remember how these things started with other events like this, those warnings were early on, and then those warnings led to the creation of locations where they would say, well, if there's only one bathroom in your house, but there's two people, then you can't be here. So we'll have to put you someplace else, right? So they haven't said that's happening here. But when you see the warnings of it saying, hey, don't share space, don't share bathrooms, don't let your laundry touch, all of these things start, and they're asking them to basically stay separated. They need to, that quarantine word, right? They need to do that, is what they're saying. So we'll see what comes next. We sort of know, we've been down this road before. We've seen how it starts with one thing. It starts with this recommendation, and then that all of a sudden you've got hotels taken over and buildings converted, and things like that going on.
And when you see those signs, you have to follow them, and that's what we're trying to do here. We gather all of this from just all over the place, so make sure to follow our website as well. We're going to be covering it in depth over there in the overflow, so make sure to get over there, marfooglenews.com. Is prepping for the apocalypse. Now, Barack and his wife basically are loading up with propane, but not your average little tank. We're talking about a 2,500-gallon commercial-grade tank in Martha's Vineyard. Now, most people wouldn't think of Martha's Vineyard as the place to go during an apocalypse, but if something happens unexpectedly, and that is where they spend a good chunk of their time, you would think, well, so what do they know? First of all, why are they even doing that? Do they need it for any other purpose other than having a backup, or like a backup generator? Or do they know something that we don't? Dex, we have propane at the cabin, and it's probably, I guess it's the size of like a little British car, a little tiny tank.
Right.
But this thing is giant. This is the size of buses.
And that's what they're saying. They said this is unheard of. Like they said in Martha's Vineyard. And by the way, it's not like, there's one big house and it's theirs and everybody else has little houses, right? This is the land of the elite already. Okay. This is their playground. It's their vacation homes, right? They all have generators. They all have propane, but nobody, it's like they've never seen a request to bring in something as big as they're bringing in. This is massive. All of these other homes there, they have generators. They've got, average size tank, a traditional, residential size tank that'll run for a while, but this is massive. This is a big deal.
Now, a family of, say, 5, I wonder if we can find out how long would 2,500 gallons of propane run certain things, right? And then what can propane essentially run? It can run stoves, it can run refrigerators, it can run heat, it can run lights, it can run a ton of things, right? So that's kind of freaky that they're doing this. And I did a video over on Marfoogle News that you can share out. This should be a one more notch in kind of the wake-up call to people that are asleep. And also, I kind of wanted to go over something, and this is what I thought about. And one of the things that I believe that I was blessed with is that people can, I guess, relate to me in some way. One thing that people say is that, we're not like hitting hard, and we're not just going straight off a cliff with the channel, and we're not saying certain things. we cover pretty much everything. But one thing that is that is really good for waking people up is somebody that they can relate to, that they see, that, I hope that there are some folks out there that were just stuck in their ways, and maybe they look at me and they see somebody that they like. I don't know. But when we start digging into this stuff, and slowly, one by one, we start pointing out things that should have questions behind them, but the mainstream media does not ask questions. They just tell you, and then they leave it at that. We cover the mainstream, and then we ask questions behind it. And that's the thing. If no one asks questions, which is where they want it to go, where they just do the narrative, no questions asked behind it, then that's when you have a controlled flow of information. What I believe freedom of speech should be is that you can talk about the mainstream and then question it. Ask, why is this happening? Why did they not do this instead of this? So I guess my point is that I hope that, we can bring in a wide variety of people so they can wake up and start asking questions. There's never a downside to asking questions. Like they say, there's no stupid question, only stupid answers, right? Dex?
And Adam, just to add some clarity here, a typical tank in a home is probably around 500 gallons. I mean, maybe 1,000, but usually it's 100 to 500, 500 being for a large residential tank. That can actually last a home like 14 months, depending on how much you use and what you're using it for, right? Now, presumably, this is not a new construction. So it's not like they're saying, hey, we're building a house and we need to have propane because there's no natural gas out here and we want gas, right? So this is probably to power some source, which is what everybody's thinking. It's obviously to run a generator or run something significant, but just think about that. There's a lot, you can cook off of propane. You can run a refrigerator, not the one that's in your house, but you can get propane based refrigerators that can run off of it. And then of course you can power, gas generators, things like that from it, in addition to fireplaces and other stuff, right? And heating and hot water. So, but again, typical home, 500-gallon tank, typical home that can go up to 14 months in length before they have to refill that. This is like, 2,500 gallons, unheard of, commercial size tank.
Yeah, this isn't even, these aren't even the tanks that you're used to seeing at gas stations. This, now say, I think this is, this says 100, 250, and 500 gallon. Like this is the size that we have up the cabin, and probably smaller than this, right? It's probably half of this size, or 2/3. But we're talking about not even this one. This one is, I believe that one's 1,000 gallon. We're talking about this, okay? That's a lot of propane. And actually, I think that's 1,250. We're talking about a giant commercial grade propane tank that you would see. I mean, like this is a 2,500 gallon. That's enough. So a 500 gallon, 1/5 of that is enough for an average home to I guess go 14 months. Just say you're using it all the time, say 10 months. It's like they're prepping for if they're there and they can't get off of Martha's Vineyard or whatever, being there for years. Why else would you need that much? Which, by the way, the tank that is up the cabin, I don't believe it's ever been refilled. Like I don't think since 1998 or something, or 2000. It's been 20 years. I don't know. Maybe there's been some maintenance, or you have to refill it every once in a while. But since I've been with my wife, 8 years, nothing. So I just wonder, like, what the hell is this for? That's the questions people should be asking.
Well, yeah, and given their position, being former, or him being a former president, right? You would expect if there was something to happen, he would be shuttled off in a helicopter and taken somewhere, right? You wouldn't expect that this is going to be the place they're gonna hunker down. And by the way, that's probably the place that's going to be taken over in an SHTF situation too, right? That's probably the first place a lot of people will run to, is to go see what they can loot. So it's really odd. You've got to ask the questions like, well, what are they doing with this?
Yeah, it's something is very, very off here, and doesn't sit right. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion. What else could that be for? I mean, it seems like that would be a backup, right? And yes, every one of these rich houses most likely has a backup generator for storms and things like that. Martha's Vineyard has storms, and the very rich, usually they think ahead. If they have so much money, they can't, they literally just cannot get rid of it fast enough, where the interest on their money is so abundant. We've all thought about this. Like, what if just some rich person gave us $1 million? Well, back in the day, that was a lot more. Just say they gave us $10 million, not to even use, just to sit in the bank and to gain interest. Most of us could live comfortably, if not really comfortably, just off the interest that makes, even if it's at 2, 3, 4, 5%. If you can get that, right? Just insane amounts of money. So they think, if they think of something like, oh, we could back that up, they'll do it. 2,500 gallon tank, that's just freaky. All right, and then if you have not already, if you have not figured out that the I guess the place around you, the spinning ball or piece of paper you're on is going downhill, then I don't know what to say. But most of us are looking at lining up ducks and getting ready. As far as this is, I guess this is current events from a prepper standpoint. If you have a problem, if you do not have long-term survival food and you want to get some, we have a solution. Go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. This goes through My Patriot Supply. It's an affiliate link, which essentially means when you go over there, in most cases, you get some sort of discount. And then when you go purchase from them, they give us a commission of that. That's how we can earn a living, even though we're covering as far as controversial subjects, and we are rated down at the very bottom of the barrel underneath mainstream media. As far as the actual stuff that we represent, we make sure that it's either going to make your life better, it's going to heal you, it's going to have you, have an easier time through a disaster, or prevent a disaster. As far as EMP Shield actually prevents disasters. But as far as this goes, if you want MREs that are freeze-dried and sealed, and you are already planning on getting these things, then try to get it through us if you can. That way you're helping your favorite show, and you are, of course, getting something of extreme value out of it. With inflation going where it is going right now, it's probably better to get this yesterday than tomorrow. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. They have more than just food there. They, of course, have your 72-hour packs, the 1-month packs, of course, the 3-month buckets and things like that. But they also have a lot of gadgets as far as everything you would need to survive, from water filtration, air purification, survival gear, cooking gear, tools, power, supplies, and, of course, radios. And, of course, they even have iodine tablets. So make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, there's $150 off on the 3-month supply. That is, again, a great deal right now. So make sure to go check it out. marfooglenews.com/prep. Thank you in advance for anybody that goes and does that. Again, you get something really awesome out of it, which you will be able to use. If it's not the end of the world, it could be for the next storm or earthquake. And then Dex, global nuclear arsenal to grow for first time since the cold conflict. Think tank. Comment on this. This is of course something we've talked about many times. You had some interesting things to say about this.
Well, yes, Adam. And if you think about it, when the UKR event kicked off, obviously the Vlad put a lot of put out warnings and put out things about his own arsenal and put them on alert, so to speak, right? So in other words, this whole notion of over the years, people were decommissioning or taking things offline, slowly dwindling, even though we both, on both sides, the US and Vlad, have thousands of these, right? We were always, slowly eroding them down. Like they, year over year, we might lose a few. In other words, they would be decommissioned, following different, treaties or different protocols, et cetera. But then you also have Xi coming along, building more. And we've been reporting about the fact that he's been building. So since he's brought a lot more online and built a lot more, and Vlad all of a sudden put all of his on alert, meaning there's no more decommissioning. That's over. They actually need more, and they started building more. They started adding hypersonics and other things. We've actually seen the number grow for the first time in a long time. The number has actually increased, which hasn't happened in quite a long time. It's actually year over year, it's been going down ever so slightly, sometimes bigger, sometimes less, but now it's actually growing, the number of nukes in the world.
And when you go to marfooglenews.com, if you actually type in nuke silos, you'll see the stories we've talked about and what we covered, and the archived, of course, articles that are all bunched in with that. As far as what Xi is doing in his country, he is mass building. As far as it is incredible how fast they are building nuclear silos. And this is something that has become a top priority as far as some of the military in our group, especially some of the high-ranking ones, have talked about some of the meetings they have gone into. And now they believe that not only are they building 300 silos they can see, they are building silos they can't. Xi wants to be tied, if not above and beyond where the U.S. is as far as stockpile. And when you think about it and you're like, well, we have thousands and they have under 1,000, that's pretty insane. So how would they do that unless they were going to mass produce these? And by the data that shows what they are doing with their nuclear fission and the places that are off limits, even to flyovers, there is something massive going on there. Thank you very much, Blue Boy 1968. I appreciate that. Paying $2.11 a liter for fuel in Ausland at the moment. Now, one thing that got me is people were saying they were paying $2.11 and $3.11 and stuff in different places, and then they said per liter. Dex, there's 4 liters in a gallon, correct? Is that right? I'm thinking on the spot here.
It's 3.785.
So essentially almost 4 liters. So 211 times essentially almost 4, you're paying almost $8 a gallon. That to me is incredible. And then JT, I took out my whole 401k and started a small business in October 2020. JT, I really wish you luck. And, you're following the advice of some. I mean, just the other day we covered how Elon Musk told people to invest in physical objects or to go buy yourself a business instead of saving your money. That's scary. Irish Rebel, thank you so much for your massive support. I apologize. I believe I missed you there for a second. I hope you're still here, and I thank you so much for your massive support of our small channel here. Thank you, and thank you. Beautiful sunrises and sunsets, praying for your kitty. Thank you again, and I believe I missed you last show too. Thank you. And then Joseph Newhouse, again, thank you. And Chanel Bivaliqua says, Mom was always right. We just thought she was crazy. Yes, there's a lot of people that you may have thought were crazy, and now you're sitting here and hanging out in chat. Let's see here. Henlo Motherfooglers, take my schmeckles. Simply Pony, appreciate you. Thank you again. And Simply Tony, wherever you're at, thank you as well. I hope you're doing well. All right, and then we have Xi alarms U.S. with new private warnings to avoid the Taiwan Strait. This is, again, what we were talking about, and this is why the thumb is the way it is. Xi military officials in recent months have repeatedly asserted that the Taiwan Strait isn't international waters during meetings with U.S. counterparts. And it says, according to a person familiar with the situation, generating concern within the Xi administration, it says a statement disputing the U.S. view of international law has been delivered to the American government by the Xi officials on multiple occasions, and at multiple levels, the person said, the U.S. and key allies say much of the strait constitutes international waters, and they routinely send naval vessels through the waterway as part of freedom of navigation exercises. It says Xi has long asserted that the Taiwan Strait is part of its exclusive economic zone, and takes the view there are limits to the activities of foreign military vessels in those waters. While Xi regularly protests U.S. military moves in the Taiwan Strait, the legal status of the waters previously wasn't a regular talking point in meetings with American officials. It's not clear whether the recent assertions indicate that Xi will take more steps to confront naval vessels that enter or transit the Taiwan Strait, but it says that the U.S. also conducts freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea to challenge Xi's territorial claims around the disputed land features, such as, of course, the Spratly Islands, which I have covered since before they existed. Again, those were actually dirt taken from the bottom of the oceans, created into islands, then, of course, into aircraft, into airways, into runways, and then into militarized bases and refueling points for massive Navy vessels. It says the Pentagon didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Xi's foreign ministry also didn't immediately respond outside of normal business hours. During a speech on Saturday, the IISS Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin warned that Xi was unilaterally attempting to change the status quo when it comes to Taiwan. Our policy hasn't changed, he said, but unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be true for the PRC. We're seeing growing coercion from Beijing, Austin told delegates at the Security Forum. We've witnessed a steady increase in provocative and destabilizing military activity near Taiwan. That includes PLA aircraft flying near Taiwan in record numbers in recent months and on nearly a daily basis. Dex, this is something that, obviously it's kind of right there in our face, but most people believe that it just will not happen, or I guess that, a lot of people don't care. I don't understand, because this is going to change world dynamics extremely fast.
Well, yeah, if they take over and take over TSMC, to Taiwan Semiconductor, it will have a devastating effect on the rest of the tech economy around the world. While not 100% comes out of there, a huge chunk does. A significant chunk comes out of there. Apple iPhones, I'm sure the Samsung phones and others probably have parts coming out of there as well. The chip maker there does a tremendous amount. So it does have, and it's not just that. There's a lot more that comes from Taiwan. It's not just chips, but think about it. If all the chips were gone, or at least held, hostage, if you want to say that, right, then it requires everyone to retool and to rebuild and to build factories to make up for that, which they're starting to do. But that's like a 5-year process. So imagine all of a sudden the rest of the world being stuttered into a 5-year slowdown of technological development, while one country, Xi, takes that technology and advances it for 5 years. So all of a sudden, any gap that's there is gone. If anything, there's a huge leap made of 5 years of advancement with technology and chip production that the rest of the world won't see, right?
And it's something that we have been watching very carefully, as most people that are asking questions right now are saying. This is something that's going to change the literal power dynamics of the planet, and people are not paying attention to it. I believe Xi will make a move in the next year, and I'm hoping that we can balance all of this without WW3. They see what is happening with Vlad, and of course they're setting up. We've shown you that. We've shown you that they are absolutely including making a physical bridge from Xi to Vlad, an actual bridge that they can transport supplies, of course, deliveries. They are now setting up to be run completely without the U.S. They have also exchanged farmland, so whatever they can't farm and what they're importing now from the U.S., they have now already replaced a lot of that with farmland in Vlad town, in Vlad country. And then what Vlad was importing from the U.S., they are trying to now import from, of course, Xi land. We covered this 3 years ago, and it was pretty obvious then. We talked about this, how it was like they were setting up to cut us out of the picture. And when you look at the actual data of who is trading with who, The entire world is trading with Xi. And just for any new people, we've explained this and we've shown this. In fact, we just covered something the other day that completely and utterly concrete evidence that this is what's happened, is that Xi and his country are manufacturing for the most advanced technology for some of the most advanced companies out there, and some of the highest quality electronics and actual gears being manufactured there. So for all these old school people saying, oh, if it's made there, it's going to fall apart, I apologize, but you are wrong. You weren't wrong maybe 15 years ago, but you are wrong now, because now they have all of these companies actually outsourcing there, sending the ability and the tech and the blueprints for everything that they're manufacturing, and they're manufacturing it there. We just covered how, what was that? We actually had military manufacturing their gear and satellite, what was it? Satellites? Different stuff, super high-tech stuff, and they got in trouble because they outsourced it to Xi. Insanity. Oops. I dropped you for a second. Sorry about that, Dex.
No worries. But yes, it is absolutely crazy what they're able to do now. If you just keep writing them off, then you've got your head in the sand about their capabilities and technology.
And then Vlad has been seen, supposedly, and this is why we ask questions, seen shaking uncontrollably in new footage amid speculation about health. Now, what's the first thing I thought of is does he have the one of the versions of the Civ or something? I remember when you got the Civ that you shook like crazy, and that was the first thing. Or is this a sign of some sort of terminal cancer, as we've talked about it? Of course, now they're saying, even U.S. intelligence is saying that he has some sort of terminal disease, possibly a cancer of some sort. And we even talked about last show how he has a personal assistant, and this is a real thing. Allegedly, he has a personal assistant that comes with him everywhere, and goes into the bathroom after he uses the bathroom, grabs his stool, and then takes it back and ships it back to Vlad country, or ends up bringing it back with them. That way nobody can get that excrement and go through it, or at least that's the theory. Because apparently he doesn't want anybody to know what he has, or who knows? What if it's a real turn of events and he's turned himself into a super soldier or something with military experiments or something. I don't know. But it's pretty freaky. And then questions have again been asked about Vlad's health after the Despo, I love how they say it, the Despo was seen visibly shaking as he presented a medal at the weekend. Now, were we able to attach this on the website?
I think it's in the article. So yeah, if you go to the website, you can click through to the article.
Which, again, some things don't load on our system. We try to do it so it doesn't show ads and all of the crap that usually comes with this. Watch it for yourself and let us know what you think. Tell me in the comments down below, what do you think of this video? Go over to marfooglenews.com to access this article. And tell me, do you think that this is a sign of something? Or do you think maybe he just drank too much vodka the day before? Jean Zander, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the Foogle fam. I appreciate you, and welcome to the Marfia. Catherine Wilson, prayer works. God bless. Well, thank you so much. That Gen X dude, it's nice to see you as well. We've had both Gen X voice and Gen X dude here tonight. And then Evolved Cockroach, thank you for subscribing. Drew366, and all of the other new people that have popped in, including Annette Smith, Diana Holden, and Seth. Nice to have you. All right, and then Vlad likely to seize control of eastern UKR region within weeks, or at least this is what U.S. officials have said for one of the first times in weeks. Again, it's usually UKR officials talking and telling the world what is happening. This is U.S. intelligence saying that they are about to take more areas. as fighting continues in the Luhansk region of eastern UKR, causing heavy casualties and leaving UKR forces with dwindling ammunition. A senior U.S. defense official said that Vlad is likely to seize control of the entire region within a few weeks. So, Dex, one thing that I've noticed is that this is now slowly turning over, and there's less of these articles saying that they're just complete bumbling idiots and that they're not succeeding, to now they are slowly taking parts of UKR.
Yeah, it sounds to me like they're getting ready to justify an escalation of either equipment, type of equipment, or funds, right? That's why you turn around and start making these statements, is then you can turn around and say, well, we need to send billions more, or we need to give them, high-end equipment, or maybe even worse, maybe even we need to arm them with nukes or something, right?
Well, one of the quotes says that Vlad will throw all their reserves in order to capture the city within a day or two to take control of the Lysychansk-Bakhmut highway, a vital supply route, predicted Serhiy Haidai, governor of the Luhansk region. So they're saying some very specific things there. And then it says NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg said Sunday that the alliance remains hopeful about progress on the membership applications of Finland and Sweden, despite opposition from Turkey, which we talked about Erdogan and all of the stuff that's going on with that. If you want to go back, you can type in Finland, Sweden, or Turkey into our search bar at marfooglenews.com. But as far as this goes, it actually shows that UKR is dwindling ammunition. Are they like letting them fail? Remember, you've got all of these countries in the world backing them up with stuff. They could ship something there in minutes. That's another thing, Dex. Remember how we talked about how they already have the ability within an hour to basically get stuff anywhere in the world practically, but especially you're talking about they've already given them gear, they've already given them advanced stuff, they've already given them ammunition. The U.S. could fly in, crates and drop them right there if they wanted to. Are they letting this happen so that they can go, oh, well, we need to escalate and send more stuff or write another check or what? It's just, it's something
it's fishy.
Doesn't sit right. Before we move on, I want to remind you, if you have not already, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield, marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can actually get a device that protects not only your car, you can get one for your home, you can get one for your ham radio. There's pretty much a device for anything from motorcycles, RVs, boats, anything that you do not want to be affected by an EMP shield, you would go and put this on it. It also protects against CMEs, the natural kind, which, again, we just had a big event last night, I believe. And I was texting with Wages World. We may have him on tomorrow to update on the situation with these solar events that are happening. But again, solar events will happen. That's a matter of time. And if it's basically if our grid is up to par by the time the next Carrington level event happens. Either way, though, there are ways you can protect personally yourself, and that is something like an EMP shield. This company has actually been working for agencies like DOD, DHS, and, of course, the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. So if you want to get the same protection they're quietly putting on cities and counties all over the place, then I would highly recommend going over and checking this out. You get $50 off per device. That means every single device you get, you will get $50 off, and that stacks on top of any sales they do. So pretty awesome deal. Make sure to use the code marfooglenews.com/EMP and then code Marfoogle if it applies. All right, and then Dex. So speaking of Vlad and everything else, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. So that's your area of specialty. Dex, of course, is, I would say, an expert on Bitcoin and on the crypto space. Dex, what is going on with this?
Well, the entire market is sort of having a major reaction. As we started the show off with, we were talking about it, and whether it was the stock market or the financials and what they're talking about with interest rates and the Fed. Well, the other thing is crypto was taking a huge hit, and it was such a big hit today that some of the major trading platforms were actually freezing accounts and halting people from being able to withdraw because I guess they were going to, not be solvent, and they couldn't withstand the amount of withdrawal that's happening. So some crazy stuff happened. I think, it was a big drop today. I don't want to speculate on if it's going to keep going down or if it's going to recover. I don't know. It does look like we're set to have, multiple weeks of downturn on the crypto scene. But this is off of a huge high. I think it was trading at like 20, maybe around 20,000, 23,000 in that range. And if you remember, it wasn't that long ago that it was, hit almost 69,000. So that's a lot. That's a huge drop over I think it was November last year when it was at its highest. So, but definitely got a lot of buzz in the community, not just in those that trade, but even those that don't, because of the fact that people were not able to withdraw on some of these major platforms because of the amount of crash that was happening.
So that's what bothers me, and I just talked to my friend Nick. He's heavily, involved in the crypto space, and even I believe his brother is going to some sort of convention where it's a $5,000 ticket to go to, and apparently you get access to, not even access to an NFT, access to be able to buy part of an NFT or something. And I was just thinking, like, this sounds crazy. But he even went into detail on how it's like everything is going to go digital, and this is going to be completely tracked. Or his opinion was that it's like there was like Coinbase. Coinbase was kind of strong-armed at one point, or at least this is what he was telling me. And then Dex, you can actually back me up on this because I'm sure you know what he's talking about. At one point, was Coinbase kind of like strong-armed by the government? So all of a sudden he had to fill out like IRS forms and things like that. And
yes, they are.
So it's like, in the beginning, people said it was all private.
Of the ones, if they trade in the U.S. or they allow U.S. customers, then they had to do know your customer, and they have to do other things to validate who they are. Just like if they were a bank, to the IRS, they think of it as a bank account. You put money there, it's money. So they want to know. They want to know the transactions. They want to know the amount, especially since they started wanting to track things over $600. So it's definitely something that they did to any of the crypto companies that actually talk to U.S. customers. That's why a lot of people will use a VPN or create an entity in another country and will do all their stuff out of the U.S. And not be subjected to U.S. laws. Whether or not that's legal or not, I don't know, but that's what a lot of people do.
Well, it just seems like, so with the general push for everybody to go digital, and with everything going digital, as far as away from cash and into digital. Sorry, I got dizzy there for a second. I don't know if it was the sound. I don't know if you've ever had that. Or if it was pressure or something. Gosh, that was so weird. All right, well, Dex, let's go over the web-only content. And again, Catherine Wilson, thank you. Prayer works. God bless. Thank you. Again, that Gen X dude, appreciate your support. And everybody else that popped in tonight, including everybody over on DLive. Thank you, Texas Rob 49, for continuing to support over on DLive. Better late than never. And much love, Adam, Dex, Mods, and Foogle fam. Good to see everyone tonight. Awesome. And then, I forgot, my Amazon's network went down Friday, and my warehouse was the only one running in the U.S. Forgot. Whoa, weird. That's actually, a lot of things went down on Friday, I believe. As far as Down Detector showed a bunch of stuff. So I don't know what the heck happened there. One more message. Amazon has been sending people home because no work orders for the past months. Weird. Dex, let's go over the web only and the overflow. We got a bunch of stuff there.
Absolutely. So now we have more than one reason to come to the website. So make sure you head over to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail for the show. Or if you're on YouTube, open that description and click on show notes. It'll take you right to today's page that represents the show, has all the news you saw. But more importantly, that's where you can easily get to the link at the very top to jump over and enter the contest. So if you want to win that Faraday backpack, which is really, awesome. It's a pretty cool bag. It's got a lot of features and functionality. It actually holds everything. And has Faraday bags for all of your electronic equipment inside of it. Go there and go to our website and make sure you click that. If you don't want to do that, you just want to type in, it's marfooglenews.com/giveaway. But the easy way is just come to the website. Not only will you see the news we just covered, you will see the overflow. So everything else, the rest of the story that we weren't able to get to, lots of other things happening. A whole bunch of sheep went down in a ship sank. There's updates about exorcisms and lots of political nonsense and other stuff with the Fed and money. You can go find all of that and much more on marfooglenews.com.
All right. Well, thank you, Dex, and I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody. Make sure to thank the mods. They have done an amazing job. Just to go over to chat real quick, thank you everybody that has popped in tonight. And it looks like we have Eyes Wide Shut, Jelly Beans, Buzz, what's going on, Poco Loco, Nurse Mel, thank you, Jammer1, Red Scout, Tracy Haniff, Island by the Sea, and, of course, Amy Holly. Thank you, guys. Lisa R. Hall, thank you for making it to pretty much every show. Thank you so much. I love you. Survival Game, nice to see you again. Let's see here. G-Funk. We got Island by the Sea. Bones, I hope you're doing well. I hope all of the mods are doing well tonight. And then Rip Curl, wherever you are. Appreciate you. And, of course, West Virginia Prepared Mind and everybody else. Love you guys. Have a good night. And we will see you next time. Tomorrow we will have a live show, and then make sure to stay tuned to Marfoogle News. We just did a video earlier today. Make sure to share that out with as many people as you possible. Help us out here, please. And then if you did find value out of this 2-hour-plus show, please go over to the like button and hit that thing. Thank you. It does help with the algorithm, and we don't know. The algorithm is like the Wizard of Oz, but if you can help us out, that would be great. I know a lot of people have a problem going, whoosh, but those that you don't, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Dex, love you. Have a good night, brother.
Much love. Great job.
And it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Got the Irish rebel, everybody step away, everybody doing them back. With the Celtic on the U-boat and the Pierce on the battle back. Amy on the Holly, bring it on Golly, going right down now. Oh, be jolly, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Let's try something different here. All right, let's make a new one. Let's make a new one today. by the sea and the way down. Oh, the Migari and the